Wednesday, happy hump day. We are back. I believe we'll be starting our daily shows again today, but I have to check with Act to see if he's on board with that. But we'll obviously be doing that as we get closer to training camps and as we get closer to the regular season. I'm going to start us off with a brief pre-show. Maybe this goes along with the inferiority complex that Buffalo has. But the NFL Network did their season preview, and I didn't see it, but I just saw the feedback in Buffalo media and on social media this morning. And this is the show with Rich Eisen and Steve Mariucci and a number of other. So they did their survey of who they believe is going to win the AFC and who's going to win the NFC and who's going to win the Super Bowl. And all 6 of the hosts picked the Buffalo Bills to win the AFC, and all 6 picked the Buffalo Bills to win the Super Bowl. And I'm telling you right now, that news was greeted with horror in Buffalo because we are, that's like a jinx. That's automatic jinx. They've screwed us. We're, like now somebody's going to get, torn ACL or, that's just, Kev, that's inherent in Buffalo, is that as soon as that came out, everybody I know who was a Buffalonian, and I told that to, said, "Oh no, what the hell are they doing?"
Yeah,
now we're worried. We're worried.
I get it, and then you have other people around the country says, we get no respect. Nobody ever picks us to win anything.
Right.
Everything. I mean, it's just they can't win. But I thought you were going to go to the fact that I watched ESPN. They were talking about football, and it was pretty much the Josh Allen show.
Yeah,
people just absolutely.
It's getting too much. It's like I'm,
Yeah.
It's like,
well, again, when we were all 10, we all acted like we were going to lose. The worst thing that happened. That was our strategy. That if you talk about it enough and beat up your own team, that good things will happen. And I think the folks of Buffalo have just never escaped that part of the maturation process. So they still think if you're negative, then they'll surprise you. Like, oh, it'll never happen.
I'm happy. Listen, I'm happy they all picked Buffalo. Like, what could go wrong?
So, yeah.
No, but the other thing, Kev, is apparently, and I heard this on Bill Simmons' podcast, the most popular long shot bet right now is the Detroit Lions to make the playoffs.
It is. There's more money bet right now on the Detroit Lions to win their division than any other team in that division.
Yeah, it's the HBO Hard Knocks effect.
Yeah, I wouldn't be betting that. I wouldn't bet it personally.
Yeah, well, it's a combination of their odds are long too. I'm not a bettor. I do not bet, but from talking to those who do, you're always looking for a combination of good odds and then a chance.
Right.
And the Lions' odds are long. So, the idea being is, and it's all based on coaches. I mean, people have loved in Hard Knocks the Lions coaches, and they've taken in all the stuff about. I don't know the exact number, but they have 80 some years of NFL experience or whatever it is.
Aaron Glenn and
Aaron Glenn and Deuce Staley. I mean, they're interesting guys, and Campbell clearly cares about his men. He's completely renovated his image coming into that. Yeah. There was a lot of people who have questioned his level of coaching sophistication. That yes, he has passion, and yes, he cares about his players, but when it comes to the X's and O's, is he really, on top of his game? Well, now that's all forgotten. That people just like him as a person, so they're rooting for him.
I mean, I'll give a better long shot in my estimation, even though that's not a bad one. I would take the Dolphins to win the division, to win the AFC East. That would be a good long shot.
Do you have any idea what their odds are?
No,
it's like. Probably. I mean, the Bills are the overwhelming favorite to win.
Yeah, they're a bad bet because of that. Because their odds are so short, you don't really win.
Yeah, the other long shot.
What, for the Dolphins? The odds are not going to be that short.
No.
Not Bills. He mentioned.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm saying bet the Dolphins.
Yeah. No. The other long shot playoff was I couldn't believe this. The Jacksonville Jaguars, which is like, I mean, that's to me that's a product of that division being horrible. And then if they get 7 or 8 wins, they're in the mix for the division.
Yeah.
Russ, the other one, and we'll start after this. The other one was the odds on who would be the first NFL coach fired. And I'm pretty sure the leading candidate was Ron Rivera in Washington, but second or third was Saleh for the Jets, which I would be surprised at after it's only been 1 year, right?
No. This is year three.
This is year 3. Okay.
I still don't think it would be him though. I'm trying to think, how many years is Brian Daboll in it for the Giants?
This is year 1.
Yeah, so it can't be him.
No, it's the top 3 were Matt Rule in Carolina.
Yeah, that's who it would be. It would be Matt Rule.
Ron Rivera in Washington, and I believe McCarthy in Dallas. But the thing is that Jerry Jones is so loyal.
He'll wait till the end of the season anyhow.
Right. He's gonna hire Sean Payton probably.
Right. I think it'll be Matt Rule. By the way, Dolphins and Patriots are plus 475. I would go Dolphins.
Yeah, that's still not great. What are the Lions at?
Yeah, I mean, I think I do think the Bills are going to win the division short of some sort of catastrophic injury. So
yeah, I think the Dolphins have a really good shot. I've been studying.
I think they're going to make. I think the Dolphins are going to make the playoffs.
I even can see them winning the division.
I don't trust Tua. Tua is not. I don't know if
I'm starting to trust him. They built a lot around him.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Plus 500 for the Lions.
Oh, that's actually they're similar. Yeah, I can see that. Then I guess that's pretty good then. So
yeah. But tomorrow night it starts on NBC, I believe. The Bills and the Rams. So
I won't watch the first game. I don't care.
Of course, Ozzy Osbourne's the halftime show. Russ, come on.
He is not.
Yes.
He just moved back to England and he was sick for months.
I heard unless somebody was joking, they said Ozzy Osbourne is.
I would have a hard time believing that. He moved to England and he's been sick for months.
Okay. Well, maybe.
I would be shocked if it's maybe, but I'd be shocked.
I don't know. Okay, Ak, we're ready to go. Start us off.
Thanks, guys. Hello, Hockey World. It is Wednesday, September 7th, 2022.
I'm Michael Agello, and you're not.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
Kevin Allen, Hockey Buzz.
And I'm Eklund. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes to you to bring you all the comings and goings in the hockey world. Sorry, I have something in my eye. Yes, we are here. It's good to be back. Good to see you guys. This is a nice thing. I love doing this show. And it's a nice break from everything else that's been going on in my life, which has been a little bit nuts. But anyway, we won't get into that. Let's talk about.
Yeah, Mike is right. Ozzy Osbourne is doing it. I don't know how he's doing it.
Is he alive? Anyway, let's talk about the signings.
Well, let's start with the big one.
We got to start with the one that just happened, right? Which is obviously Kevin, or is that Russ's dog? Because Russ's dog has a big name on that one.
Yeah, Jake is happy, or is that Perla? All
right, so Tim Stützle, right? I'm assuming you're calling that one the big one, right?
Yes,
Mike?
That's the 8-year.
Yeah. And in some cases, something bigger happened in the last 20 minutes that I didn't see. $66 million, 8-year extension with the Ottawa Senators, who are spending money right now. They're spending money like.
Somebody on social media says obviously Pierre Dorion does not know the meaning of a bridge deal. Now,
let me just jump in here because I'd say the Dallas Stars are envious because you don't want a bridge deal with everyone, and if you can get Stützle side up, like I don't think there's any doubt that he's a player, just like there is no doubt that Robertson's a player in Dallas.
Right.
And this is a great deal.
It's a great deal for Stützle. I have no problem with it. I saw the jump that he made last year. He will make another jump this year.
Well, I think this is smart on the part of Dorian because now you've got four players with Shabbat, 4 players in their early 20s. Locked up on 8-year deals at less than Now I think Stutz or Shabbat was $8 million. Tkachuk was over 8. Norris was just under 8, and now Stützle is 8.35. So you've got your core 4 locked up for about $35 million. That's pretty good. That's not $40 million, and you're spending $8 million on your top defenseman. And in a couple years, Russ, you're probably going to be spending that kind of money on Jake Sanderson if you can.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, but but they've got them locked up at cost certainty, and that's where I think it's valuable. You've got these guys, and they're all not even in their prime yet. You have to be sure if these guys are good, and I think they are.
That is, I mean, there is a little bit of a. I mean, I'm gonna I like Stutzel. Stutzel, is it?
Stutzla.
Stutzla. I always go. Yeah, I like him. I mean, I liked him since I first saw him play in Europe, in international play. Like he's unquestionably a skilled player who has huge amounts of upside. Reminded me a little bit of like a Saku Koivu type player when I first saw him play. Like I mean, he's not quite that, but he's a different.
Oh, I think he'll be better than that. Actually,
he'll be better than Saku Koivu.
Yeah,
that's something. Much better.
Much better. See, that's something. See, I don't. It's interesting. So I was always really high on Saku Koivu. But yeah. So if that's the case, then yeah, this is if you guys are right, then this is the right. I mean, the difference is here. They're getting their players for $8 million versus $11 million, right? Like like what we've seen is a lot of players, $10 million, $11 million for the core. This core is they're trusting a lot that this is the core, right? These 4 players are the core, but they're not. I do agree that they got him probably for a couple $1 million less than they could have if they waited. If they were a couple years further along their career and had established themselves a couple years more, right? So then they wouldn't.
Okay, so here. Okay, so Kachuk is at 8.2. Josh Norris is at 7.95. Stutzla doesn't start till next year's 8.35. Shabbat is already at 8. Now you've got Giroux at 6.5 for 3 years. They signed Batherson for just under 5. What this is telling you is, and again, I maybe I'll be proven wrong, Kev, but I believe that Ottawa has gone on this spending spree in the summer to establish the value of that franchise because they're going to sell. The Melnick daughters are going to sell. And, if you put together a good team that is a competitive team for the playoffs instead of a team that's sort of been I think middling for years, you're going to get more money. You're going to get value and you're going to get somebody interested. So I think this is an investment in the future of the franchise. And that's why they're all of a sudden become big spenders.
Well, I don't care. But I think if you're a fan, you're just excited about what they're doing here because I wrote yesterday about, I think it's never in this day in the NHL, your general manager has to be clever and smart and creative and savvy. And I think Dorian, made that judgment call. He's made a call that said just what Mike pointed out before. He's getting all these guys before they're getting into their prime. As Eklund pointed out, he's getting them where he doesn't have to wonder whether he's got to pay these guys $10 million. I mean, Johnny Gaudreau was going to get $10 million from Calgary. And we're starting to head that way. People are starting to know, okay, we're going to get that, reshaping of the salary cap sooner than we thought. Yes. That means these top players are going to start to get more money. And he's headed that off in the past. Like, I think this is, really, really good. I think it's good for the organization. I don't think there's any doubt that Stutzla is going to be a top level player.
No, I mean, as a fan, you want your GM to lock up your core homegrown guys, and that's what he's doing.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter who owns the team, Yeah,
no.
I don't think it does either. And I think, and honestly, I know that people are, wondering what are these girls going to do with their team. But from everything I've heard about them from at the draft and different situations, they're fired up about this. Like they're not like unfans looking to just move this team out at any day. Like they also, I think, feel a certain amount of like loyal, like not just loyalty to the whole thing, and that they want to keep it going, that they want to make it, and I get that sense from talking to people who've talked to them that they're really, and I talked to other owners about it too, and one other owner says, yeah, they're for real. They're not just like people are taking them way too lightly. They're going to do real.
But it doesn't matter,
It doesn't really matter.
What everybody forgets too is historically, the NHL has propped up many teams. Yes. Like it's commonplace. Right. Through the years for teams that might have some financial issues for whatever reason because of ownership, for the league to kind of step in and prop them up behind the scenes to get them running again. So if they did have a cash flow problem because they weren't as liquid and the person who have inherited the team, the league would take care of that, and then if it's necessary, they'll sell them. But I think the key thing is for the Ottawa fan base is, all of a sudden this is a real team. And, again, we said before, not only did they make all these moves and, to make themselves a better team, but I think it was a great message to the fans of Ottawa saying, okay, we're in this to win it now. This is different now. There's changing here. And now this is another, good signing that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And like I said, Dallas would love to be able to sign their guy. Deal.
Right,
and they may have to go bridge because they simply don't have the money. So
one other thing to add. I mean, thanks to Murray Pam, Stutz will sign the contract in a restaurant. So clearly Ottawa's publicizing this, and their season tickets are up. Like they're
Big
and
time.
that's the name of the game here.
Yeah. There's excitement.
And those issues are important. Like what the Carolina did, their season ticket sales are up 2,000. Well, 2,000 season tickets, are big, for the franchises.
Yeah.
So, being able to do these kind of things are, helpful for the franchises.
Big time.
Yeah, and you have to wonder, and we'll talk about this probably getting closer to the beginning of the regular season. You now see 3 teams in the Atlantic, Detroit, Ottawa, and Buffalo, all in different ways, but are all significantly improved in terms of going into the season. And we're going to preview Buffalo at the end of the show. The question is which one of the 3 are going to be the most successful, and which one of the 4 teams that made the playoffs, Florida, Tampa, Toronto, or Boston, take a step back. And now you'll have an extremely competitive Atlantic division where I don't think you're going to have 4 teams having over 100 points. It's going to be, you're going to have probably one team with over 100 and then other teams in the 90s, and those teams will be a lot closer. So it's going to make for a more interesting regular season and more interesting divisional games.
Yeah. And the Metro, who everybody kind of is assuming is is still probably the best division in hockey right now as it sits. The Metro is in that spot where you have to say to yourself, a lot of people figured that they would have 5 teams in the playoffs, where 3 teams would come from this division. But now with Ottawa making this push, maybe we're looking at, and Boston and Ottawa both are, I think legitimately Toronto, Florida, and Tampa are all playoff teams. We all kind of feel that way, right? Those are 3 playoff teams.
But you never know. You never know.
But that should be the case, right?
If Bobrovsky takes a step back in Florida, if Matt Murray gets hurt in Toronto, there's no guarantees.
It's really the, and this is always lost sometimes on fans, but it's really the competitiveness of the division that dictates whether it's 5 or 3.
Yeah.
Last year, there was disparity between the top in the Atlantic and the bottom. So we had 4 teams with 100 points because they were killing all the teams below them. Well, those points are going to be spread out more.
Right.
They're going to be spread out similarly to what we're going to see in the Metro.
Yeah.
As well. So I think we'll end up probably seeing a 4-4. Right. But, you never know. If somebody, slips and suddenly there's 5 dominant teams, it actually hurts, a division if they've got 5 really strong kind of teams, because then they end up dividing the points and helps the other division. So.
As you sit right now, do you guys believe that the Ottawa Senators or the Columbus Blue Jackets have a better chance of making the playoffs?
I would say they're similar, but I would take the Senators.
Take the Senators over Columbus, yeah. And that's
see, the thing is they using that divisional analysis. I think there are 7 strong teams in the Metro, and there are 7 strong teams in the Atlantic, at least either improved or good teams. So I think they're about even. I like Columbus's goaltending better. Mm-hmm. I like Merzlikins over Talbot and Forsberg, and I like Columbus. I like Columbus's defense better, but I like Ottawa's forwards better.
Yeah, I think the goaltending's relatively. I think they're relatively even.
Yeah.
Cam Talbot's a good, solid NHL goalie.
Yeah.
I think they're both pretty good, but in terms of goaltending, they'll be fine. But again, because there's, I think the teams that, I only think Ottawa is going to be able to compete. To me, it doesn't feel like Buffalo's quite ready or Detroit's quite ready.
Yeah.
But Ottawa, if there was going to be a team that might rise up, I'd say it's Ottawa, because they're really one credible defenseman away. But that takes into account that Sanderson is going to have an easy transition, and maybe he won't. He's a young player.
Right.
So,
right. What's he going to be about?
yeah. So we'll see how he does. But, I mean, Buffalo's got Owen Power, and, that'll make Darlene better as well. And Quinn's going to be stepping up, and I think he'll be an impact guy. So,
but their goaltending is weak with Anderson.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to say the least.
So we kind of feel that like Montreal and Philadelphia are what people are saying at the bottom teams in these divisions right now. It feels like, at least that's where they're at right now. People are saying Montreal and Philadelphia are the bottom teams in the division.
That's what I've seen thus far in the early forecasting.
Yeah.
Montreal, and I don't think that disappoints Montreal fans, because I think they're all in for the Bedard sweepstakes. But Philadelphia fans seem to be smarter about it than the management. Like, it feels like the management has not raised the white flag, but the fans seem to have already raised
I almost get the feeling, Kev, that they're putting it's almost a false flag operation in Philadelphia. They're saying the right things to be, we're going to be contenders. We think we're going to be good. Okay, it's the first year of Tortorella. So if you're going to bottom out and stink, this is the year to do it. Like Mike Babcock in Toronto. Okay, you bring in the big name head coach. He's got carte blanche. He's playing with house money. If they tank, or if they're really bad and they're 32nd overall and they have a chance to get Connor Bedard, nobody's going to say fire Tortorella.
No, they won't have a chance, but they can get a top 3 pick. And Tortorella knows that he's got a lot of fixing to do. He knows that. He's not going to say it all publicly.
Yeah. And I mean, they are. I mean, I think the disconnect of people, when I talk to people in Philadelphia, just in general, they say, well, their team doesn't look very good, but they hired Tortorella, who doesn't, who usually is pretty good, and he's going to make them better than they should be. That's the whole feeling that goes around the fan.
Yeah, sure, but 10 wins better than they should be still puts them in like the bottom 10.
Right, but we can go.
I agree.
We can go back to the Buzzcasts from 2016, and I remember X saying, Toronto is the most competitive 31st place team I've ever seen. Yeah, they can be competitive. They're not. Doesn't mean they're going to win. I mean, if now Carter Hart might steal them games, but their defense is not very good.
Yeah, no, for sure.
They're going to have 1.5. They're going to have 1.5 fights a game. That's how they're going to try and entertain. This is the guys they have in the lineup. That's how they're going to try and entertain the crowd. They're going to play hard away from the puck, and they're not going to score a ton.
Now, the other signing was the team we were just talking about, Montreal, signing Kirby Dach to a 4-year deal. Now, they got Dach in that 3-way deal between Chicago and the Islanders, Romanoff going to the Islanders, draft picks going to the Blackhawks, and Dach, who was a 3rd overall pick a few years ago, looks like he took a step back over the last couple of years after really playing well in the bubble for Chicago. Russ, I know your opinion on Dach is strong. The AAV on this deal was $3.36 million, which even if he's a 3rd line center, I don't think is a bad cap hit. But from what we're hearing out of Montreal, they're going to probably give him a chance to be the number 2 center. You're skeptical about that, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance he can be a number 2 because of his age. Sure, I buy into that. But so far, and even last year, and even 2 years before that, like they were protecting him in Chicago with defensive zone starts, and that is not what you want to do if you're a top 2 center. So, like, who's going to be the main faceoff guy in Montreal? Is it going to be Christian Dvorak, who I had already said is not a number 2 and he's a number 3? So is that your main faceoff guy? Probably is. Suzuki will take a certain amount too, but he's not like a shark. But he's not a shark on faceoffs either. Like,
no, but they're not a contending team right now.
Yeah, does a team like this worry about faceoff guys?
Well, I mean, you have to worry about it. Kirby Dach, here's the problem with, and this is why I say the jump to be a 2nd line center in this league is massive, is because he will face no worse than anybody's 1st or 2nd pairing, 1st or 2nd line every single game on the road. At home, you could tinker around with things. That's where you look at his numbers and you look at everything else. It's nice that he has the size. There's definite ability there, but this is not a magical, hey, he's automatically, you could plug him in there and it's going to work.
Right.
I saw a really good analysis on social media, and sometimes that can be quite a scramble. But I thought this guy, he said he had talked to someone from the Montreal organization who said, we're not quite sure what Kirby Dach is right now. He said it could go either way, but even whether he's a 2 or a 3,
right?
He said we're happy with the contract.
Yeah,
the contract is good, and I think that's accurate. Like maybe if he's 2, maybe they even get a bargain out of it.
They'll get a bargain if he's a 2. And look, what they're saying about Monahan, I'm not counting Monahan because I got to see him skate for more than a week to realize he's healthy enough to actually play. But that's aside from this. With Dach, though, if he stays the same, then he's in the bottom rung of third line centers. So then that's what you're paying for.
But I think it is fair to say that you're not quite sure because he does have some abilities that we haven't seen yet. He's been a little slow to develop, but not, he still contributes, even though he's not. So I think that was a pretty fair assessment, and I do think this is a decent signing for him, and maybe he'll be a guy that will. And we see these guys all the time that move between 2 and 3. Ryan Strom is a perfect example. Really valuable player.
Yeah, right.
Because he can play in a scoring line, and sometimes he played in a third line role. And
but
that's a good comparison.
I do think though that we're seeing, and we've seen it over the last couple weeks, what Kevin referred to, the effect of what Bill Daly talked about the calendar being moved forward in terms of the cap going up. Now you're seeing teams, I think, more willing to spend 2 or 3 years out. With Ottawa, they were under the cap, they were at the cap floor, close to it, so they have the flexibility to sign guys like Kachuk or Norris or Stützle. Teams like Toronto with Austin Matthews, he's got 2 years left in his contract. I'd be dumbfounded if they don't announce next year before July 1st the 8-year extension on him. But the money will flow because they know that the cap will go up.
Right. I think that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot of that. I do agree. And I think that's what we're seeing now for sure. So 2 interesting signings for today, which is nice. And we're going to see. I think we're going to see some more stuff. I'm really impressed with what we're seeing out of Ottawa, and everybody seems pretty happy there. We're going to talk about Buffalo in a little bit, for sure. But I wanted to first have a little bit of fun today. Not that talking about Buffalo isn't fun. I didn't mean to imply that. But I'm doing something. I was challenged by a friend of mine to build the ultimate hockey forward. Hockey, and he was going through the whole thing, and he's like, and we sat down, we were sitting on the beach, and I said, okay, let's figure this out. What are the characteristics of a forward, and then let's come up with who would be those players. Like, so basically, for example, in scoring, like I said, that if I was to say my ultimate NHL forward would have the scoring abilities of Austin Matthews, for example. That's kind of what I'm saying here. So I gave Austin he would be my ultimate scoring forward. Does anybody disagree with it? Like, that would be their scoring characteristics. Anybody have another player they would rather put in there as well?
Well, I mean,
I guess it depends on what position. Position matters.
We're just saying ultimate forward, so it is a little bit tricky that way. I know, but
he's the prototypical scoring center, shooting center. If you're talking about a winger, probably a guy like Pasternak, who's just a complete sniper. I mean,
but
I
think I'm still going to take McDavid over Matthews because if I'm looking for the ultimate scorer, it's still Connor McDavid.
McDavid's is a better playmaker than
we have that too. So let me give you the characteristics. The 8 things I have here are scoring, playmaking, playing at high speed, stick handling skills, defensive skills, team leadership, determination, and toughness, and then like an it factor at the end. So so we have playmaking as well. So this is just flat out scoring goals.
Okay, so scoring goals.
This is just goal scoring and
scoring goals. But I think Matthews is the best.
I'm buying Matthews.
Yeah, I'll go with Matthews on that.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things I said before, and I've said many times about Matthews, is his ability to receive a pass is phenomenal, which is interesting because I looked at some of the advanced stats, and the number one pass percentage, like we always talk about passing percentage in football quarterbacks, the number one passing percentage in the NHL at 41.8% is Mitch Marner.
Yeah,
and that has a lot to do with obviously Marner's skill, but it also has a lot to do with the fact that Matthews is catching everything.
But the roles are reversed on that line. Marner is arguably the best or second best playmaking winger in the NHL, and Matthews is the sniper. It's usually the center is the distributor.
I think that's what Eck just said.
Right.
Yeah, that's basically what I said. So playmaking. So we're all kind of maybe a little bit of disagreement. So
It just
playmaking-
sounded better when I said it.
Yeah,
Kevin.
it actually was better phrased. I will give you that.
I'm
Oh, thanks.
playmaking.
Yeah.
I'm going McDavid on playmaking.
I'm staying off my phrasing. You're going McDavid and playmaking. Okay, I go ahead. You guys go first. You guys can go first, and I'll give you mine. Why don't you go, Mike? Who
If it's if are you talking about playmaking,
yeah, best
if it's
playmaking
not-
player in the NHL, forward in the NHL.
if it's not McDavid, forward or center.
It's just forward. He just said so. Anybody, either one.
Just forward. It can be center, wing, whatever it is. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd seem to be a homer if I said Marner, but McDavid's an unbelievable playmaker.
Yeah, Marner's got 40. He's got the high percentage. It's not a homer.
Yeah. No, McDavid or Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah, I'm going to go McDavid too. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually thought that I actually had McDavid at number 3 for me. But but it's hard. I mean, obviously these are all great players we're talking about. Like, guys like Rob Thomas, who doesn't get a lot of credit, are like these great playmakers. I been through the whole playmaking thing. But I think the top 2 players were actually involved with each other this past summer in an off, not in a romantic way, but just in a way that they were actually, there was a trade that went on that they sort of connected them together. And that would be Johnny Gaudreau and Huberdeau. I think Huberdeau and Gaudreau are, in my opinion, are the 2 best.
I think you can make a better argument for Gaudreau over Huberdeau, but not Huberdeau over McDavid. No way.
Yeah, I can't take either one of those over.
Okay,
McDavid.
so I went with Gaudreau, but that's just my pick. So you guys, playing at high speeds. This is This is we have 2. I said 2 Irish Canadians and a Russian skate into a bar. That was my lead for this. So so guess my 2 Irish Canadians and a Russian for playing at high speeds. I'm sure that will be the guys you pick.
For me, it's either McDavid or McKinnon.
Right, those are your 2 Irish Canadians, right?
Yeah, I'm still taking McDavid over this. I love McKinnon, but McDavid has done plays that at a high speed that we have never seen before.
Is the Russian Panarin?
No, it's not. It's not.
Well, it's not.
The only reason, Kev, I say McKinnon is in that group and I might take him is because McDavid doesn't have that speed through the neutral zone that McKinnon does. Like, that's one thing that's his own.
Yeah.
I bet. I mean, I don't think that's a wrong answer. I think I like McDavid better.
Yeah.
The thing I was really looking at to this, like what McDavid does so well, and I did go with McDavid, of course, but my other guy was Kirill Kaprizov, who I think needs to get more credit for playing at high speeds than he does. Like,
Sure.
Just basically the skate work of these guys, like the skate work of both McDavid and Kaprizov is phenomenal. Just even when they're going through the neutral zone, their ability to their edge work is just silly. Around the net they're able to, like, their skates are moving at 1,000 miles per hour and doing all these shifts, and their hands are so steady and calm. It's kind of crazy. Just like
I think Kaprizov has better edge work than the other 2 you mentioned, and I think Marner is very close too.
To make this more interesting, you can only use one guy's traits.
One guy's once. Yeah, you could have done that.
Yeah.
That definitely would have.
Then then we're 4. We can use McKinnon for this. So
yeah, we can play it that way if you want to. It's absolutely fine.
Well, that's fine. I'll go McKinnon with this one since I used McDavid already.
Same here.
Okay, yeah. So if that's the case, then I'm still saying with McDavid because this is actually the first place I've used McDavid.
Right.
Best stick handler in the league. This has been like something that's been going on for years.
Yeah, this is a tough one because boy, there's some good ones.
Yeah,
I'm going to go Panarin.
Panarin's a good one.
How about Patrick Kane?
Patrick Kane's always voted as this. Like the NHLPA players.
I'm going with Kane as well.
Yeah, this is a skill that I think of all the skills since I started covering hockey, like say, the last 15 years, this skill has improved more than any other, I think, in hockey. Like
this is the area where Matthews has improved the most in the last 3 years.
I just feel that the drills and the work and the youth hockey programs have really improved on how this is taught or something, because stick handling is just, I mean, if you go back to like the lacrosse goal, the famous lacrosse goal that we all like, and that when that was done, everybody's mind was blown, behind the net lacrosse goal. Every youth hockey player can do that. It's like crazy. It's like, you get like, I mean, it's just the ability, the whole ability has just picked up so much.
It's a 2-step thing. Like, once they broke the barrier on skating because of using figure skating and everything, then the stick handling was going to get better because they could do it at a higher speed. And
the advent of skill coaches, especially in the off season. I know Kane and Matthews have worked with the same skill coach over the last few years. I think McDavid and Matthews as well. So I think that influence has really exploded over the last few years.
Yeah.
Do you really think that helps though? I always feel like sticking with the better ones. It's instinctual. You got to have that knack. I don't care what kind of coaching.
I think you're just accentuating the positive, Kev. I think it's
I really disagree
you
on
have
that.
to have the baseline talent, but then you can sharpen it by.
Yeah, but I don't know. Either you got it or you don't. I think it's like scoring.
I think the instinctual aspect to it, yes, Kevin, but the actual like skill part of it is definitely teachable. And you can take your instincts and then add the skill on top of it, because we're seeing some players like even David Perron, someone mentioned in the chat, these guys are phenomenal stick handlers. Claude Giroux's a great stick handler. These guys are all like that. But my guy here I went a little bit off the board because I think in the next couple of years, he's going to be the one that the NHLPA players pick. And that is Jack Hughes. I think Jack Hughes' stick handling ability, when I just watch him play, that is the one thing that always strikes me. Like just like his ability to stick handle through traffic,
Sweet hands. He does.
Off the boards, different.
I think he's second and third in like stick handling, edge work. He's right there, but he's not there yet. He's getting there. Yeah,
but I think he could. Do you think he's one who's going to take Patrick Kane's mantle?
Oh, he definitely could.
And I think that Kane, I think it probably is still Kane's thing. The next one is defensive abilities as a forward. Now, obviously, we have the Selke guys.
Bergeron. Yep.
Bergeron.
If it's not Bergeron, I think the guy who is Barkov. He's the one who.
When healthy, I'm going to still take Couturier on this.
Well, let's.
Interesting.
Do we have face-offs as a?
Nope, we don't have that as in here. I don't have that in here.
Because if we had that, then I would say Bergeron for that. Although
I would say defensive skills, face-offs is part of that, Kev. I really do. I think.
Yeah, well, then I'm going Bergeron.
Yeah, I think that's a safe one to put in there because
somebody said in the chat, Ryan O'Reilly, who's really good on face-offs. If you're gonna, it depends on how much you weigh face-offs. Right. John Tavares was one of the face-off guys in the league, but he's not the best defense. He's been pretty good defensively over the last. He's good.
He's not super fantastic.
Not great, but Bergeron is the whole package: penalty killing, shutdown, face-offs, everything. He's
the one thing that's hard to measure, though. The one thing that Bergeron doesn't have is sort of a beastly presence like O'Reilly does. So.
Right. No, but that's where Couturier, when healthy, can push guys around too.
Yeah.
Barkov too. Barkov's a big kid, so he can.
Right.
Barkov was my pick, but Couturier is a close second, and we haven't seen him healthy for a while, and but when he is healthy, you're right, Russ. And the one thing that I think that Couturier does better probably than anyone else, and this is a really weird thing to say, but when he has the puck, he's a good defensive player, which is weird. He does not put himself in a position. He does not make passes that, put the team in a bad spot. He's very controlling with the puck. He's very deliberate with the puck, in his movements. And you don't see many odd man breaks going the other way because of Couturier in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
So with the puck, he's pretty dangerous. But Barkov is crazy good too. And I just think that, this is, and Bergeron is another one. Oh, team leadership is the next one. This is a hard one, obviously. This is like.
I'm going Crosby.
Crosby, that's a great one. That's a great one.
Yeah.
It's hard to go against Crosby.
Tough to argue with that.
I know. I felt the same way, and I actually went, with McDavid. And now remember, we're not going with the same things here, but I actually was just what I saw from McDavid this past playoffs really made me think that he took the mantle of the best team leader in the NHL. What I saw from him was just astonishing. I thought his play, his hitting, his whole emotion to try to carry the Oilers was just crazy beyond his skills.
He found another gear. I'll give you that. I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think there's still there. It's funny to say. I think there's still more there to be seen, and that's scary if you're a team in the Western Conference. But him and Draisaitl play off each other really well, and I don't know what one would be without the other. They complement each other so well.
They do for sure. They do. But I don't dislike Crosby in this one at all. Determination and toughness.
Tom Wilson. It's
an interesting call, perhaps. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not going
to. It's the toughness more than the determination.
This is a hard one for sure. This is a really tough
one. How
about
Brady Tkachuk? I just think he is a determined son of a gun, and he's tough.
Yeah.
He's not a fighter tough, but he will fight. But
It's funny, Kev, that you would
That's a
say
good
Brady and not Matthew, because Matthew is the one who's got the reputation.
I know, and I like them both, but
Yeah.
I just think Brady's kind of under. I watched him growing up, and I always thought that ultimately he would be and the determination, like he wants that goal too. Like, when it's on the line, Brady he just rises up. Brady Kachuk.
I'm talking about determination and toughness, Russ. So,
Determination and toughness. I do like Kachuk in that. I like both Kachuks in that.
Yeah, I do too.
I think it's between both Kachuks because they're the both. They blow up everything when they get into the crease area. They just mayhem happens.
They're like their dad. Like they won't be denied.
Yeah,
Well,
Marchand of old, but not Marchand now.
Yeah, but that's a good thought. I mean, he's a determined player. He always has been.
Someone in the chat room stole mine, which I thought would be a really big surprise, but that is Ovechkin. That's who I thought for this one. And honestly, I just think that there's not a more determined or tough player in the league than Ovechkin. Like,
I agree, but I think the only thing you have to take into account with Ovechkin is he literally could push somebody from behind into the wall and not get called on a penalty.
Yes.
That Ovechkin's a good one too, for sure.
I just think if I want to put someone's spirit into every player that I have to make them want to win, I'm looking at Ovechkin's spirit, like that, whatever that is that makes him go. And at his age, which is even more remarkable, that he's not like jaded, that he still absolutely has the same not stronger determination than
he's the poster child for the star exemption. He can do, like Russ said, he can do almost anything and not get called for.
I think that's overrated.
One of the best illustrations of his determination. I don't know how many folks have seen the video of him when he went into the Russian League soccer and played for a short period of time, and as he went down and scored the goal, he wasn't going to be denied. Like he just looked like he was going to get that goal. He wanted to get that goal. He wanted it badly, and they were playing. They weren't just everybody backing off and letting them have a shot.
Yeah, it wasn't a Vladimir Putin hockey thing.
Yeah, no, and I think he really does want to win, and he's almost acted wants to win so badly he's acted inappropriately in terms of like he's berated goalkeepers and
he's no nonsense. I mean, and I always go back to the one play I saw, and I made a big deal of it on the podcast a couple years ago, but like the one defensive play he made in Philadelphia that still just baffled my mind, like the speed he showed on one play where he got back and lifted this guy's, I forget who it was, but it was a really talented player. He lifted their stick and ended up going crashing into the boards himself, but it was a defensive play, and it was just one of these things that just, what he is all about. And just, he caught up to this guy at his age. It was just ridiculous. And I just think that there's nobody, I mean, his joy of winning the Stanley Cup kind of shows you even more of that. Like that was unbridled joy because he unquestionably wanted it as much as anybody's ever wanted to win that trophy.
The more we talk about, the more I do like him for this pick, but I would use him. I don't know if durability is a category, but I would use him in durability because
I would too.
He has just been amazing in his ability to play like that.
Yeah,
get hurt.
It's really true. It's incredible. I mean, he's the shape he keeps himself in, I don't know. He's just
he's big, so he's when there's a collision, he usually gets the better of it. But he's been really the Gordie Howe of durability of this era.
He's got 124 goals to go.
Yeah,
he does, and that also is of course leading in his determination, right? That's another thing that's driving him at all times, and there's no question that you're seeing, and it just feels like there's no way he's not going to get it. Like it feels like to me that he's going to achieve that he's going to catch Gretzky, and that'll be that. Finally, the last thing I had was an it factor, like a player who just has something special that you want. That little, and there's a lot of these guys we've talked about, of course, have that. So this is where I could kind of name a player that I thought had a lot of these qualities, but didn't necessarily get mentioned in this whole category, in this whole thing. I'm going to
go Trevor Zegras.
Trevor Zegras is a good one. See, that's like, there you go. He's got an it factor to him.
I think he's a little bit young to kind of know where that's at. I mean, I understand why Russ is saying that. He just didn't do a lot.
I'll go because I'm a goalie at heart. I'll go Igor Shesterkin.
But this is a forward. It's got to be
Forward. We're
Oh, it's
dealing
gonna be
forward.
forwards. I'm sorry, forwards.
Yes, it has to be forward.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to think about this a little bit.
Think about it for a little bit longer, Kev. I mean, I'll give you mine while Mike's thinking.
Yeah.
Too. And mine is Kirill Kaprizov. This is where I put him because I just every time I watched him last year and I watched him, I fell in love with the guy more and more and more and more over the course of the season. Just like, and I know that he's not super consistent. He's obviously not crazy inconsistent either. But there is something about him when he wants to do something on the ice, that his abilities to do it and his determination and his skills and his everything. He has a real large superstar quality that I think is being kind of lost a little bit because he plays in Minnesota to a degree. But if he played somewhere else, I think he would be really looked at. If he was in New York, for example, he would be just blowing the doors off. Like,
just imagine if Zegers were in Canada.
I know. No, you're absolutely right with Zegers,
Like,
too.
come
That's
on.
another great point. I mean, Quinn Hughes is another one. He's a defenseman.
He is another one.
There's certain guys that just have this, but he's a defenseman. We'll get to defense. I'm going to do the defenseman the next time. But
okay, since we're following the can't take the same guy twice, I'll say Elias Pettersson. Now, the one thing about him is the durability issue. If he can stay healthy, and he's been hurt a couple times, and it's caught, but he's a special talent with great vision, and he's a pretty good scorer as well. And he stays healthy. He could carry Vancouver to a playoff spot and further. So I mean, I would say him.
I have one. I'm going with Pasternak.
Oh, good one.
Got some inexplicability to his game where you're not quite sure. But I just looked him up yesterday for a piece that I was doing, and in his 5 of his first 6 years, he has scored 34 or more goals. So there is an it factor to that because you're never quite, there's no one overriding theme to Pasternak's greatness, which always implies that there's an it quality to it. He just has it. He has a knack. He has an understanding of how to score goals. And in the year that he didn't get, of course, he only played 40 some games. He had 20 goals.
Yeah.
So, he still had that ability as well. So I'm going to just go with Pasternak just because I think there's a bit of mystery to why he is as good as he is.
And the question we'll be following all year with him is, because he's entering the last year of his contract, is whether the Bruins get him signed, and if he does go out in free agency, what he's gonna, he could break the bank. He could be a $10.5 million free agent.
He plays with 2 such high profile line mates too, like that it's interesting, like that I mean, when he's playing, when that line's together, right? Like, because he's got the Selke winner all the time, and then Marchand, the craziness of Marchand. So you have 2 guys who are very much, I think it keeps Pasternak slightly underrated in people's minds because of that.
And that ridiculous power play, because they score tons of points on the power play too. So
yeah. Pasternak's a good one because he just performs, he just produces like crazy, and you're right, and he does play with those guys, but he makes those guys better too, and he's definitely extended Bergeron's career probably in a lot of ways. But I think that Bergeron and Marchand get they're the ones that people go to talk to, they're the ones you're going to talk to in the press, in the everything like that, because they're so interesting.
Yeah, but Pasternak gets the Dunkin' Donuts commercials.
He does get a Dunkin' Donuts commercial. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
But
nickname though. I do not like the pasta nickname.
No, I don't either. So there's our top forward player. And I think it's a pretty fun thing to do. I'm going to do it with the defense next time, the defenseman. And because there's someone sent to me like, Cale Makar could be in this, could outplay some of these guys on the forwards, and perhaps, but I think that it's better to keep him as in defensive mode. Cale Makar, we'll have to pick the one thing then. I like Kevin's idea of sticking him with one thing. So we're going to do that. The one thing that Cale Makar would get on this list.
I'll tell you what is also fun. I did this years ago. We never ended up, or did we? Did we end up writing this? I can't remember. I needed the help though. Well, I did the typical NHL players. So we figured out the average number of goals that they scored, how many years of experience, what the average salary is, and we determined all that, and then we, honed in on who that.
I like that. We should do that. We should work on that.
It's actually quite fun. It turned out it was, it's like you had to be 27 and make 1 point something million, and at that point, because it was years ago, and Yeah, you were 202 pounds, and you were 6 foot.
Who's the medium NHL?
I guess I'm above average then.
Medium NHL guy. That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
Too.
So, Ek, before I go, I wanted to mention the Ivan Fedotov situation.
Yeah, let's talk about that. We'll talk about Buffalo on Friday if we could.
That's good. I got the text this morning. He got signed by CSKA to a 3-year deal. Now, on the surface, that sounds like he's avoiding his court case and everything is okay. And then, 10 minutes later, I'm getting more texts that, well, he's not going to be there for long. He's going to end up getting traded to either SKA or Avant-Garde. And that's because it's not exactly within the rules for CSKA to be able to sign him when he's had all this issue with the Army. And so the takeaway that I have from this is two things. Now, some players can get away with still what goes on in Russia. Kaprizov is one of them. You have to have a lot of money. You got to have some friends on the inside, and you can't really, make the mistakes that Fedotov made. But it definitely is going to, muddy up things a little bit for some of the draft guys. Like, they're going to have to be over there for a certain amount of time. We've now gone back to the, hey, we're going to keep you as long as we can from going to the NHL, unless for whatever reason, there's some sort of, they like him like Ovechkin. And I think, for a lot of players, that's going to happen. So, like, I would expect a lot of these draft guys to be 3-year deals until the NHL sees them in maybe year 4, maybe even year 5.
Interesting.
I think that's what's going to happen.
Just recently, we ran a story about one of the Russian coaches over there saying that there should have been a considerable effort made from the Russian teams to go after the Russian free agents. In other words, when these guys are free, we're going to come and bring them back to Russia. Even to the extent of pooling their money as a league to get these guys to come back.
Well, I mean, you have to say that this is the international situation is a factor here,
right?
I mean, I know that there are teams out there with a lot of Russian draft picks who are not expecting to get them for 2 or 3 years because they're going to be playing in the KHL and because of the resistance to the Russian government allowing them to go to play in North America. So, I mean, I think that's a factor. I think it was probably a factor in the whole Fedotov situation because he made comments about what was going on. And
that was the biggest problem. That was the fire starter for this, but that's not going to even save the next person, though, because now it's gotten to the point where Putin is pretty much doing what he can to keep players there, and like this deal, because it pushes Fedotov to the age of 28, conceivably puts him out of getting an NHL deal of any decent quality. And I think for the most part, that is what they're trying to do. It's not going to work on everybody. There's going to be some players that get over sooner, but a lot of players are going to be stuck there for a while.
Yeah.
Unless something changes, which again, it's Russia. It could change.
But we're also going to see, obviously, like the scouting of Russian young players has got to be taking a huge hit, right? Like, I mean,
they had scouts over there. So believe it or not, the scouting doesn't take a hit at all because every team now, like, they're not even sending anybody anymore. They just have people over there that are giving them the scouting.
Exactly.
But you're not getting to see them play against.
They just take the word of the scouts. That's
you're not getting to see him play an international at high levels.
Well, so
that's fair. He always played into it a lot. I mean, that was a big determination.
Yeah, but the Red Wings drafted a guy in the second round. Russ can tell you who it was, but they took it on the advice of their Russian scout and video of this guy. And now everything that you read about him now as a first-year KHL player, they might have gotten one of the steals of the draft. Apparently, this guy is quite dynamic. So, if you have a guy within and that you trust,
Dmitry
Buchnelikov.
Yeah.
And I don't know him. I don't know.
Yeah, but he apparently, they said that he actually looked better than the guy who was supposed to go number 2 in this year's draft at the
Michkov.
During the training camp. So.
Well, Michkov will be an interesting case, right? Because
he's already got a 3-year or a 4-year deal.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be like Mishkov is going to be like Kaprizov. They had the Wild had to wait 4 years to get him.
Yeah.
Right. Kevin, was there ever a time when the NHL paid Russian hockey at all to get players to come here?
Yeah, for sure. Right? Yeah, for sure. and they had it kind of worked out. You used to have to pay the teams,
Yeah.
to get them freed up, and that kind of thing. But and maybe our viewers are going to surprise at this, but there's not that many Russians in the NHL now. A few years ago, it was like 25 or 26. I remember writing a story about it. I'm guessing it's around 30 now, 32. I mean,
it's really
look it up. So, and also, I just looked this up the other day. Do anyone have any idea how many people live in Finland?
Oh, you told me, so I'm not going to say.
Yeah.
What is it?
4 million.
It's actually 5 million. It was less than I thought. 5 million people live in Finland, and they churn out hockey players like that. Like they're half the size of Sweden. Sweden's at 9 or 10 million, which is the size, about Michigan. So it's amazing. Where Russia has 180 million people, and yet we still only have 28 or 30, and that's because of the presence of the KHL.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Here's the weird thing too that and I know the chat room always wants to take the anti-Russian approach, and I don't blame them, but there is a point where, listen, these players do want to play over there too for a certain amount of time because they're taking care of their families.
Yeah.
They want to play in front of their home crowds. It's not like they don't want to play there and they're all being held against their will. That's not the case.
No.
But, it's a fine line.
There's a big
schedule, and your friends and family get to see you play.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of the NHL teams don't mind the fact that these players are over there for 3 or 4 years honing their skills, and they come over here at 22 or 23 or 24 years old, and they're more complete players.
If they know the coach and the team.
I'm not sure that's true, Mike. I think if the NHL had their way, they'd have them over here.
Oh yeah, they would.
Yeah, I don't think they see it in that way. It's not like sending them to college,
Sure.
Right. There's always been a culture shock issue. Like, Swedish players don't face that much of a culture shock coming to the US at all because they all speak English and Finnish players pretty much the same, but a little bit more maybe, like more Finnish players that's more closer to Russia. So it's kind of like it's between Russia and Sweden, but Russia is a big cultural shock. And then like places like the old Czechoslovakia, that was a huge culture shock. Like there was an even enormous, like I remember talking to players from the Czech world that said, that they really, they went back there as soon as they could, every season they went back there because they had to get back to their culture. They just really, the US was so different that they just couldn't take it, and Russia has a lot of that too, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, there's really still is an adjustment too. I know here in the Red Wings, there's been a lot of discussion about they added Kubalik from the Blackhawks, who is a Czech player, and they've added that it adds. They already had Zadina, they had Verana, and they have Veronik, and now there's they joke about the Czech mafia, but they have 4 countrymen. On the team is a really big deal, even though it's a small world with regard to most players are accept the fact that they may have to move away to a different country to get the best competition.
Yeah, and again to make the most money, obviously. But yeah, I agree with that completely, and that's a tough spot. I mean, and Russian players have a really hard time if there's not another Russian on the team. I've even seen it with Provorov in Philly. There's a definite, and he's very North American. I mean, he played a lot of his juniors here and everything like that. He speaks perfect English, but he even has there's just a difference. There's a difference. I mean, I love talking to Russian players because I think their passion for the game is really great, and they are very humble usually. Most of the ones I talk to seem to be pretty humble about it all because they came from a situation and they're seeing this as like, wow, there's there is so much America as offered, but you can't get around the fact that there's something in their hearts that draws them back home. Like that.
Well, I mean, look at the fact that most Sweden's players go home.
They go home. Yeah.
Most Swedish players go home. Man, Nicholas Lidstrom basically kept a Swedish household all the time he was here. The rule was, and I knew Nick pretty well, and he talked to me about this. If there was, they spoke Swedish in the house unless they had someone who was visiting from the outside, and then they thought it was polite to speak English, even though they spoke well. They had traditional Swedish meals there. And that's the way because he knew he was going back when he was done.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, I've seen that. I saw that with with Kimmo Timonen here, and with Finland too, the same kind of thing. And even Sami Kapanen, who I know, when the Kapanen young boys who are now all NHL players. were coming up, they were, the same kind of way. It was they were definitely more integrated in there. But this is it's a very good point. It's a really good point. So, well, thanks everyone for watching today. We really very much appreciate it. We'll be back again on Friday, and then we'll be starting regularly scheduled shows very soon on Monday through Friday, because we're going to be getting into the preseason games soon, and all the camps opening up in the next week or two. So it's going to be fun. So remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will talk to you all on Friday.